At TechCLAVE 2025, the second international conference on generations, technology, society, spaces and screens, hosted by the Department of Journalism and Communication at the DG Vaishnav College, Chennai, experts and thought leaders came together to explore the ever-changing relationship between media and technology. Moderated by Vijay Srinivas from the Federal, the discussion featured a powerhouse panel. Pradeep Gairola, VP and Business Head Digital at the Hindu Group, Professor Pradeep Malik from Pandit Deendayal Energy University, Dr. L Ramalakshmi from VIT School of Media, and Umanath V, Managing Editor of Media News for You. The panelists delved into the industry's most pressing concerns with a particular focus on how journalism is adapting and evolving in this fast-paced, tech-driven landscape.
I want to keep this conversation more of an industry, academia sort of an engagement there. So let me begin with the professors first. Professor Ramalakshmi and Professor Pradeep. So how optimistic are you about the future of journalism? I'm asking you on the backdrop of what has happened last year. IIJNM, one of India's premier institutions, had to shut down operations last year in Bengaluru owing to low applicant numbers. So is journalism losing its glamour at the institution levels? How do you respond?
Thank you, Vijay. You have asked a very difficult question, because when I entered journalism, and that was quite a few decades ago, I mean, we entered journalism because we wanted to do something, and I guess we could do something also. Today, I am a little old, that's why I may sound senile. I don't see that fire, but having said that, there are enough number of people I see among my students in the industry who are still upholding good journalism, and they are good journalists also, right? So that way I am quite hopeful. People say that newspapers, or that's the first newspaper, mass media newspapers, they are on the decline. But newspapers have been on the decline, but they are not going to die. Just as other media, they have transformed themselves, newspapers will also transform themselves. In fact, they have already started transforming themselves. And the house that I worked, we are supposed not to name houses here, but you have people from houses, so I can name my house. And we are sitting beside each other. I come from the Times of India house, and we have a history between the Times and the Hindu. Well, so the Times of India is known for its innovations. So are many other organizations doing those innovations. So they are transforming themselves. So there is no need to be despondent that things are falling apart and it's gloom days here, doomsday is here. There is no need to feel like that. Good journalists will always be in demand, and good journalism will always be there. I think I'm repeating myself. So I'm pretty hopeful, and I'm sure that those who want to make it a career, it remains a very good career.
Professor Ramalakshmi, and how do you see, it's more of a demand-supply dynamics, right? How do you see the enthusiasm, excitement at the institutional levels among students?
Thank you for the question. Good afternoon, everyone. I think there is good zeal. I agree with Professor Pradeep. The reason why some institutions are shutting down in terms of application, I think is fundamentally because they are not able to keep up with the changing media landscape and the changing audience landscape. The consumption pattern has changed, therefore the supply pattern should also change. As teachers, we've started adopting pedagogy where we say we have to go where the students are. It's just like how brands want to chase customers. Not that I'm saying that the press has become commercialized, I'm just trying to draw parallels. It's just about how you cater to needs. So if there is a certain way that audience are going to read a text, so I think we should give it in that format. So like Professor Pradeep rightly pointed out, it's a matter of transformation. COVID disrupted, and I see it is positive for the press. There is more growth. We say it is saturated, but it's actually not saturated. Yeah, there is a market, there's profits and things like that. Let me give this point that I stumbled upon, and which was sort of an eye-opener. the year 2009, if I'm not wrong, publication called Ann Arbor, a 100-year-old publication, went online. They shut their print business. They were running in Ann Arbor under the title Ann Arbor. They shut business. That year, India had more newspapers starting. So newspaper is not going to die out. It's a part of our culture. So it's just that the form has changed. We are seeing lesser number of pages now. Doesn't mean there's lesser news. Doesn't mean there's lesser events happening. Doesn't mean there's lesser outbreak of something that people should know about. There are enough and more that people should know about, and information is knowledge and knowledge is power. So the way we train, the way we're going to stay abreast with the changing media landscape in terms of our pedagogy, how fast are we adopting those modules? How many schools are having good online journalism courses? We still have some higher education institutions which are still going by the 4 normative theories of press and not evolved from there. That's right. And the agenda setting theory. Now there's something called reverse agenda setting. How many of us are teaching reverse agenda setting to our students? Right? So that's right. I think it's about a syllabi update also, infrastructure update, and also updated teachers, which we are ready to do. As academicians, we are willing to do that.
That's right. Wonderful opening remarks. I wanted to take you to the industry leaders here. Pradeep Gairola there. So, Pradeep, a similar question, but bit of a tweak there. How optimistic are you about the future of business prospects in journalism this year?
Okay. Let me first thank Professor Pragati and the college to invite me to speak to the students who I think this is the future of journalism. They will not only they will write the first draft of history of this country, but they will also define how the journalism shapes up.
Right.
But before I answer your question, I would like to narrate a story. In 2019, a retired Navy Commodore, Lokesh Batra, reached out to Nitin Sethi, who is a journalist called Nitin Sethi. Through several RTIs, he had collected a trove of information about political funding. So the government had launched one scheme, and when he started filing for a lot of RTI applications, he saw a lot of discrepancies and he felt that there's something not right. So he approached this journalist, and in a simplest term, in 2018, the government of India, led by BJP, launched a scheme called election bonds. Election bonds allowed individuals as well as companies to donate to any political party anonymously. All the political parties collided and passed this act, which became, and hence it was not just one party which was interested, actually everybody was interested, right? Fast forward, this Commodore, which he starts getting the RTI information, he realizes that there's something wrong, he reaches to a journalist. So Nitin Sethi and his team did a story of 6 stories on this subject, and to cut the long story short, in February 2024, Supreme Court of India cut down this entire resolution which was passed by the Parliament and said it is illegal, right? The most interesting part of this story is that Nitin Sethi handled a newsroom which had 7 members, Reporters Collective, okay? And this country has 21,000 newspapers, 400 TV channels, but if you see some of the most exceptional work, which is not even in this country, but across the world is happening with these small news outlets, right? These outlets in India, if you will look at Scroll, you look at a News Laundry, you look at Wire, and I can name like a Mook Nayak, right? Or your Khabar Leheriya. So much of work is happening with these organizations which are very small startups. They come out for almost nowhere, very small setup, and they do some phenomenal work. So what I feel is that in the coming years, the legacy organizations are optimized for risk aversion, right? So it will be very, very difficult for them to transform, and they have a bloated cost structures, right? So survival is going to be difficult. Right? Some of them survive, a lot of will not survive. But the biggest opportunity is this layer of this new newsrooms coming from people like these. I don't know how many of them will start some of these startups in the next 10 years' time, right? And these will be the people who will change the way this country. Look at the number of news influencers on YouTube. See, the biggest cost structure in a legacy news organization was not news generation. News generation in a legacy organization contributed to a cost structure of 10 to 20%. The majority cost was involved in reproduction and distribution of what journalist was writing. In a digital era, the cost of reproduction and distribution is close to zero. Which means that these guys do not need a capital intensive structure running in hundreds of crores to make their voice reach to somebody. If they are focused, they do some strong work, right? Look at this Reporters Collective, 7 people newsroom, and he changed the constitution of this country. Look at the power. Look at, and this is not the lone case. You look at this, like the work done by Wire, so many of them, right? So like that's Pegasus, that's what done by Wire, right? And there is this girl who started a MOOC Nayak by a girl called Meena Kotwal, right? Again, she raises the voices of the Dalits, right? So there are so much of phenomenal work is happening. I feel that the golden era of journalism is arriving. We are near the gate of that golden era of journalism, okay? The kind of power the digital is giving is something which the journalists have never seen in their lifetime. The ones who are focused, the ones who are able to really, specialize in something, who are ready to be a ever learner in life, they will change this game. And they will, and see and even if I look at newsrooms like a print, last started by say Shekhar Gupta, right? Shekhar Gupta was easily able to raise about 100 odd crores because he was a great journalist. People wanted him to do great work, right? Look at a Ken. Again, some journalists started. So I feel that there is no dearth of money. There is no dearth of things. The only thing which requires is people to have this you have to learn all your life, right? That is a condition. Second thing is that you have to be very expertise. Gone are the days when a journalist could cover a hospital as well as a police chowki. That days are over. You have to be a specialist in something. And third, and the most powerful, what is the purpose? Mahatma said that find a purpose and the means will follow, and I think it could not have been better than this time, right? So if any of you guys finds a purpose, if you are driven, if you are ready to be, you will change the way this country runs. Legacy players will survive, will not survive, some will survive, some will not survive, that will keep happening. But I am extremely hopeful for the future of the thing. And just to give you a data, in 1900 there was 7 publications registered in India. Okay, 1947 there was 77. In 2020 there are 146,000 publications registered with RTI, which means that every day of independent India we have added 5 publications. Right? 5 titles got added to a RTI every day of this independent India. We see a lot of challenges, but if you look at a macro data level, there's a dramatic opportunity. The kids have to really figure out how they crack it, and they are the people who will teach us how to really shape our future. We as a legacy organization have to have a lot of work to do, because we need to, we need to raise this mindset which is against risk taking, and that's what will be our challenges.
That's right. So Umanath runs a media news for you. He closely tracks the financials and the audience metrics of a gazillion media companies there. How do you respond? How optimistic are you about the future of business of journalism?
As Pradeep rightly figured out that the legacy medias are having this white elephant in them, which is the cost factor. So the changing media landscape and the increasing cost, it is putting them into severe stressful situation where survival becomes a big question mark. And that's where the topic comes into the effect, where profit and the public interest.
That's right.
So the monies are very important. Profits are good because it serves the larger interest of serving the public again. But the dropping revenues is a major concern for all of them, because if you look at today, most of these media platforms, they have just 2 major revenues, which is subscription and advertising revenue. So subscription revenue of late in the recent times, due to evolution in technology, because news is available everywhere, so you can access everywhere. So, and also the dropping tendency of that print losing its scene due to digital taking over. So the transformation has impacted on their revenues. So that is one factor which has driven them to depend more on the advertising revenue. Any media that depends on advertising revenue, according to me, it is not a healthy scenario, because in a democratic country or any ecosystem, the media company should have a healthy revenue options for which the public has to invest on the media companies. So if you are opting for an OTT streaming platform, if you are spending on entertainment and if you are not spending on news platform, then you are putting your country and yourself into trouble. Do not hesitate to invest or subscribe the media by paying it. The free media that comes in your way, it will kill the purpose-driven journalism and it will give rise for propaganda-oriented journalism. You never know who's the real good guy who's serving you and who's the one which is trying to appease the ruling establishment. This will kill the whole scenario and larger purpose. So it is the revenue that does matter, and of late the transformation of the technology is a major issue. So for example, even the legacy media companies, right from print, still they are facing. The recent Ukraine war has jacked up the newsprint cost by 100% or more, which they are still now grappling. In addition to that, the transformation of technology, so from print to television. So you need to open a television channel. For example, Hindu doesn't transform into a TV channel, but let's assume they tried it in between. So if you want to become a television channel completely, the technology part is different. You need to invest on that ecosystem. From television, if you want to become a digital media, then you need to invest on the cloud to other technology and the people who operates. So the cost will keep increasing it. So definitely profits are important, and only through a proper income or revenue they can sustain and keep serving the audience, because they need to be where the audience are. They need to migrate to through the dissemination of news from one medium to other medium. The transformation is a huge cost for them. Today, operating a cloud server and running a domain and all that is not an easy thing. So an individual can do it, but loading tons of archives pre-independence to till date, the storage and the search engines, everything behind operation, it's a huge cost, and for which the public should be very, very, very aware that they need to know that a country which hesitates to pay for its news, it is digging its own grave. That's what a big statement that I want to make here. If you are spending more on entertainment and you are not willing to spend on news media, or you are not willing to subscribe the news media, then the country is running into perils, whether it is India or any other country. Today, learn that and try to support the medium. Because subscription, today, so many new platforms are emerged. He has quoted about so many people. One guy, Dhruv Rathi, was a major impact. We can say that, because I believe that he was the one who was pulled down 400 to 240. Okay, so that's the kind of individual impacts. Of course, it is there, but one guy can go do that much, but only a larger media platforms can do a large play a larger purpose. So legacy media should survive. Along with that, individual media platforms. It's not about any one ideology. It is about everything should be open. The media's freedom of speech and expression should be protected. All kind of ideology should be freely exchanged. He was talking about the collective, what is the name? Reporters Collective. Today they came under attack. They gave an explanation now in the afternoon that regarding their investigative journalism. So one major important thing is investigative journalism is very important. If the media, legacy media dies, or if they compromise themselves for the sake of advertisement, they have to depend on the media advertisers. So the moment media companies start kneeling in front of the advertisers, then you can't question them. you can't be neutral, and major advertising revenue comes from the government, which is DAVP, through DAVP. So the advertisement revenue, 40% of the revenue for any news media, that is coming from the government ads. If that revenue is not coming, obviously you can't rub with any ruling establishment. This is a power for them to make you toe the line. Of course, they can make it to some extent, but not to the extent of making everyone to compromise and completely give up. That's not good for the country. Thank you.
Interesting, sir. So I want to take this to Pradeep again. Pradeep, look, he's talked about subscriptions, right? That's a kind of a clarion call there. Pay to keep news free. The Hindu group has banked a lot on the subscriptions there. Globally, subscriptions have been dwindling, and do you still see potential for value-driven offering? That's my question A. And question B is, there's a lot of a diversification spree that's going on, right? And where do you see real potential in when it comes to building these products?
See, I think it's a right time for the news media to decide who's your audience. Or rather, whom are you serving? If you take advertisers' money, you will have to serve advertiser. Now, see, the news media for a long time was able to avert it because, I was also in Times of India for about 11 years. So once we did an analysis in Times of India to look at who's our biggest advertiser. And I'm talking about the heydays of print. At that point in time, it was Unit Trust of India, which was contributing 2% of our revenue. So a large organization, any news organization, the biggest advertiser didn't have more than 1 or 2% of revenue, so they couldn't flex the muscle. But that was not for TV. If you look at TV, the single biggest advertisers like Levers and Procter & Gamble, they control about 20, 30, 40, between 3-4 of them will contribute about 30-40% of the revenue. So TV was always way more vulnerable to advertising than the news media, because news media had a very, very large number of advertisers. See, if you will go to any large organization like Times of India or a Hindu, the number of advertisers will range, at least in the good days, were about 1 lakh any year, right? Now, but that the moment the advertising started moving and the advertiser now becomes more powerful, that's not a great thing. So see, what is digital doing? Digital is forcing us to choose who is our customer. We can't, if we want reader to pay, then in our entire focus, the reader should be there. See, if you look at the history of newspaper, we built products because advertisers needed it. So the biggest challenge was entering a household. Once I entered a household, I said that, okay, now my advertiser says that how do I reach to the women of the house? So we launched weekend products like a Saturday Times, Sunday reviews, weekend, and Friday. So that was basically aimed at women. Gradually then somebody came at, so if you will see, most of the products were not launched because we wanted the read. We wanted because what the advertiser will advertise, right? In this new economy, we are first time being forced to be clear who is our audience, right? Worldwide, no company in digital area is able to build an economy based on advertising, not even one. And today we have 40 to 50 legacy news organizations which are doing dramatically well in a digital subscription era. So if you look at New York Times in its print era peak reached 15 lakh copies. The digital has a subscriber base of 1 crore 10 lakh now. You can pick up industry, you can pick up a WSJ, you can pick up a FT, you can pick up, a lot of them who are now succeeding are the ones who basically became very, very clear who the audience is. And what is this doing? This is basically saying cut down the content. All the companies which were earlier trying to do more and more and more and more now are cutting down. The successful ones have cut down 15 to 20% of content. Just to give you an example, Times of India does 6,000 stories a day, Hindu does about 450-500 stories a day, and New York Times does 250 stories a day. And New York Times is considered as the most respected in the world with 250 stories, right? And so today, and they used to do more stories, they have cut down. You look at London Times, that has cut down. So everybody is opting. So see, what is not commodity? The commodity is event-based news. So see, news has 3 broad layers. One is the news, which is the event-based news. Second is the analysis, which you say why this news happened or what is the thing. And third, the opinion, which becomes news, right? That's more for powerful people. Like if you look at Hindu, the editorial that we write is a news for anybody who is going for a IAS kind of a stuff. So if you go to YouTube channel, you'll find hundreds of channels who interpret every day what is the meaning of editorial in Hindu today, right? So if you will see, the commoditization part is happening to event-led. But what is becoming more and more difficult is that with so much of event happening, what is that is useful to me? Why should I even care about this? Like, if the US election has changed the president, why should it bother me? If you can explain me, maybe I will involve with you, right? If you can't explain me, it is just another country which has some president changes. How does it matter to me? So I think the relevance part of it is game is becoming more and more. We need to become, we need to really get our act together. I personally think that, the subscription is the way forward. Today, there are about 15 business models for the news. It is no longer about one business model. There are some 15 business models. So if you look at a Financial Times kind of a company, they have developed a consultancy cell called Financial Times Strategies, which is doing about $100 million, right, of revenue now. You look at a WSJ has done something like clubs. So what they do is there is a CEO club, and CEO club you can't apply and become a member. The fees runs about $60,000 a year, okay, to become, and you have to get an invite. Right? If you look at then the newspapers are like, into e-commerce. Some people, so there is so many models which are evolving. As of now, I'm aware about 15 business models for the news organization. The dominant model for organization like us remains right now the advertising and subscription. But in a digital business, currently our 45% revenue comes from digital subscription and 45% comes from advertising. Right? But the print is still about 70% comes from newspaper, from advertising, and 30% comes from subscription, right? But this is changing. So see, today we are working on the biggest challenge we have, how do we diversify the sources of revenue for us, right? So what are we doing? We are trying to look at our scripts, our stories, and saying, can they become scripts? So we have started a division which is trying to look at, we have curated 20 stories from Hindu, which we are pitching to film producers, OTTs and all that, and trying to see whether it can make sense. We are trying to look at syndication, right? So today we are syndicating our content. Recently we launched a product which is basically the day you were born or any important day, you can buy a product from Hindu, right? And these are the very, very small initiatives. We are wondering, like, can we start, let's say, can I lend my brand and start a sports star and say, create an entire e-commerce brand around sports, because sports star is a powerful brand, right? Can I create a lot of goods around sports, like a cricket kit? Right? Will this brand lend to it? So we are being forced to really look into it. The only thing is that the time is running out because the legacy media business is in a structural decline. But we as a country are extremely fortunate that we got enough warning. See, if you look at US and European countries, there was a bloodbath, right? Because the time between the internet becoming important and it became important was very fast. Even today, about 90% of the revenue for most of the legacy organization, 85 to 90% comes from the print business, which means that we have a scope to experiment. We have scope to fail. In 2019, we were the first company to launch a digital subscription. Everybody wrote our obituary saying that, oh, another failure from Hindu. But I think we survived. Today we have lakhs of subscribers which are paying for the digital subscription, right? Nobody thought we'll be successful. Now everybody is trying to build a model, right? So somebody will have to take initiative. We are learning from the industry is learning from us. And the great part which is happening in the industry is that in the print era, we were very cautious about sharing anything. In the digital era, we are going, so I can go to a Times of India product manager and ask him what is he doing. I can go to a Hindustan Times, I can go to Express, and similarly, in Hindu, there is a policy that you can send your people from because Hindu believes that a large economy like India needs thousands of sources of news. Right? So if Hindu survives and the industry fails, the democracy fails. So we are very, very clear in digital, there is no competition for us. We all are in the same pool. Right? And anybody, so people send their a lot of companies send, I would not like to name them. There are people from Pakistan, there are people from Bangladesh, there are people from Sri Lanka, there are within the country, a lot of people send their people to us or have a conversation with us and ask about experiments, want to learn from us. We are reaching out to people, we reach out to the people in Europe, we are reaching out to America and saying that help us understand what you are doing. So the worldwide, I have never seen such a cooperation between the newsrooms. Everybody is trying to help everybody, and that gives me a very, very great sense of, yes, together, we are together as an industry. We are not fighting each other. Maybe we'll fight after 20 years, but at least now we all are collaborating, and that's a really great sign. And another great sign is like, look at Europe and US. Today you have 40, 50 legacy companies who are doing tremendously well. That creates a hope for us. To sum up, I think this is the first time the news organizations are being forced to say who is your customer. In the past, we said, oh, I'm writing for the audience, but money comes from advertising. Now we are very, very clear. The customer is I have only one customer, which is my reader. And she has to pay for my subscription, and that clarity will change a lot of stuff.
Professor Pradeep, would you like to add something?
As he was speaking, a couple of things. I'll just add more examples to it, how things have happened. I've had the opportunity of working in quite a few big organizations. One is Times, you heard it, and I also had the opportunity of working in Bhaskar. When Bhaskar wanted to enter Gujarat market, different language, they were into Hindi only. For the first time, they were getting into Gujarat market. I had the opportunity of being the member of the launch team. I was the founding resident editor at Surat edition. And that's how I got the opportunity of reporting directly to the chairman and the MD, his son. Visionary people. Chairman has unfortunately passed away. So people, when Bhaskar was trying to enter Gujarat, if you remember, I don't know if many people will know about the market there. Gujarati reading newspaper, Gujarat Samachar, selling in more than 1 million copy at that point of time. Sandesh, again close to 1 million. They sit in a population of 4.40 million people. That was Gujarat population at that point of time. One paper selling more than 1 million, the other selling close to 1 million, so 2 million people. Where is the space? And when I was interacting with the Agrawal family of Bhaskar, they said, Pradeep ji, we are not going to compete. We are not going to eat away their market. We are just going to expand the market. Yeah? Cake is there. We'll just increase the size of the cake and we'll take that extra size that we are creating. Let them have their 1 million copy or close to 1 million or more than 1 million copy. We will create additional copies and we'll take that. Fine. That is one. So, when Times, and then I was with Times of India, as I said, Times wanted to launch Mirror. Again, English. Times of India already there, selling close to, I'm talking of Gujarat markets, selling close to 200,000 copies. Express was already on decline, but they had declined in the sense, number of copies they were on decline, not as stature, not as news, because they remain a great newspaper. Unfortunately, they have a different model of distribution and earning their revenue, sell less, make more revenue kind of, from the print side. Times selling so many, Express unable to survive. Asian Age had already closed down. There was another newspaper, local newspaper. Where is the space for the third newspaper or the fourth newspaper? My editor and we said, I was the news editor that time. We said that, look, we see people reading, youngsters are reading. You have to find out what are they reading, and convert it into, or you customize your presentation for them. And Mirror was a great success, you all know. Unfortunately, Mirror is in print version is no longer there. Ahmedabad Mirror continues in print version. Bombay is only digital now. Bangalore is there. Pune is there. So, great success. To the extent that artificially, I'm sharing a secret here, artificially the Mirror distribution had to be stopped. You can't challenge the flagship. Mirror became so popular. When people were saying, where is the space for this newspaper? Yeah. So, as he said, you have to identify who your readers are, what they want. It's not that what they want and you give them. It's not that if they want opium and you will give them opium. You have to have some behavioral, restraint on yourself also. You have certain social responsibility which we do accept. So this is the two things. The cooperation that is happening. Now, Times of India, English newspaper, Gujarat Samachar, Gujarati newspaper. And we were competing. People said, how are you competing? They are Gujarati reading news people, you are English reading news. How are you competing? I said, Times of India, this is the business philosophy. He will relate it very nicely with that. They said, if a person comes to my shop with 100 rupees, he should not go out of my shop with a single penny. All 100 rupees should be spent in on my advertising counter. Okay. So, if the advertiser has 100 rupees, if he does not spend 100 rupees with me, he will go and spend with Gujarat Samachar. So we are competing with them. And when Gujarat Times of India wanted to launch its regional centers, Surat and Baroda, you know where it was being printed? Gujarat Samachar Press, it was being printed. They are competing with each other, right? But they are cooperating also, because that cooperation was in the benefit of both, right? So you have to talk about your audience, you have to think about your audience, you have to think in terms of business model, what makes sense to you. Obviously, these businesses are run by wizards like him, those who are wizards in business, they do. So these are the couple of things that I just wanted to add. And advertising revenue, again, I had the opportunity of interacting with Gujarat Samachar publishers also a lot. At one point of time, remember, Gujarat Samachar is something like what is the Hindu here in English. Gujarat Samachar is very, very powerful in that region. Even today, though Bhaskar is number one there now. So I had the option of interacting with the Gujarat Samachar. They had run foul of the government then. Shankar Singh Waghela had become the chief minister, and they had a running feud. The government stopped all the advertising with Gujarat Samachar. I asked him, Shreyans Bhai Shah, I asked him, doesn't it bother you? He said, no, it doesn't bother me a bit. I was surprised, because we were under the impression government gives a lot of. He said, my revenue from the government sources is less than 3%. Why should I bother about government? If they have to come, if they have to reach out to people, they will have to come to me. And government had to come to them. That was only because he knew his audience and he knew how to curate his content. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add to what he was saying. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I want to take this to Mr. Umanath. We've got a sizable chunk of people from Tamil Nadu here. I want to, add some, blend of local touch to this. So, social media, நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இதில் ரெஃபரல் டிராஃபிக்ஸ் வந்து ப்ரொடாமினண்ட்டாக கீழே வந்துருச்சு இப்போது. ஸோ யாருமே வந்து ஃபேஸ்புக்கோ இல்லை ட்விட்டர்லையோ இல்லை லிங்க்டின்லையோ பீப்புள் வந்து இந்த கார்ட்ஸை பார்க்குறவங்களோ நியூஸை பார்க்குறவங்களோ பட் யாரும் கிளிக் பண்ணி அந்த வெப்சைட்டை போய் பார்க்குறதில்ல. ஸோ இது கம்ப்ளீட்டாக டவுன் ஆகிடுச்சு. ஸோ நீங்கள் வந்து நியூஸும் சோஷியல் மீடியாவும் நீங்கள் தள்ளி போயிடுச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறீங்களா? ஒரு இஸ் இட் அ டிவர்சிங் சினாரியோ ஆர் வாட் இஸ் இட் ரோல் தட் சோஷியல் மீடியா கேன் ஸ்டில் ப்ளே? பிகாஸ் இப்போ பீப்புள் வந்து உள்ளே கிளிக் பண்ணி பார்க்கலாம் கூட உங்களோட நியூஸ், இப்போ ஹிந்து ஒரு நியூஸ் போடுவாங்கன்னா அது சோஷியல் மீடியா தான் பார்க்குறாங்க அவங்க. But it doesn't bring anything to the website, right? So either, how do you see it?
See, primarily it is because it shows a kind of அது வந்து ஒரு erosion of trustன்னு தான் சொல்லுவேன் நான். அதாவது சோஷியல் மீடியா பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் மேலே இருக்கிற அந்த நம்பிக்கை அப்படின்றது வந்து ஓரளவுக்கு தகர்ந்துருக்கு ஆக்சுவலாக. ஏன்னா இன்றைக்கும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஆல் ரிசர்ச், இஃப் யூ கோ ஆல் ரிசர்ச் எவ்ரிவேர், the audience trust remains with the print media because finally they come back to the print. 2 days before my mom called and she was asking, quoting one famous actor, is he passed away? I was shocked. No, very recently he went and did a brain surgery, but he is completely all right. No, I saw it, people were talking about it over here. When I asked who, when I searched online, it was showing that actor's house there was a death. So the clickbait activity they did in such a way that this actor, in his house a death happened. Is it a news? People create such kind of clickbait just to attract the people. So how many times you will fall for the clickbait titles? You just go see once, twice, thrice or 10 times. But every time you betray him, your trust level of that platform keeps falling down. So I come across so many research reports from various national, international bodies, trade bodies and research agencies, which time and again reiterates that it is the print medium that enjoys greater level of trust, and then television to some extent, because nowadays the television becomes like a courtroom drama. There will be more noise, less news. There is no news, only views, or television channels has become propaganda driven platforms. So the social media, coming back to the factor that you are asking, it is a symbol of erosion of trust very clearly. நம்பிக்கை இழந்து போயிடுச்சு. அதனால் அவங்க வந்து அந்த சோஷியல் மீடியாவில் பார்க்குறத நிறுத்திக்கிட்டாங்க. பட் ஸ்டில் த traffic will be there, because in a country that's having 120 billion population with 90% internet penetration, definitely any Tom, Dick, Harry can win 1 million views easily. But sustaining becomes difficult. So, because more and more, if you see, they are also being challenged, because there are so many individual influencers, news media influencers, like I was quoting Dhruv Rathi. So, but the evaluation of their performance will be constantly monitored. So, your every new bit of your news will be evaluated. On the other hand, the platform owners who are not creating any content, they are just dwelling on your hard work, which is the YouTubes or Facebooks or the social media platforms. They don't create anything. They just play the role of a distribution carriers. So they enjoy a greater revenue. They constantly shift the goalpost for the content creators, whether it is news or any other. There was a day when 10,000 views will get you X amount. Same thing got fixed. You have to generate 1 lakh views to generate that amount, and now it is 1 million views to generate that kind of revenue. And it comes with so many obstructions now that the governments are creating lot of obstacles for them. Now they have additional pressure of towing the line of the government's agenda. So that's also preparing, like some hard work news. I mean, if you create your own platform, you are the owner of that. But think about a scenario that where you are putting some 10,000 videos, and one fine morning your video, your channel, YouTube channel has been blocked for some XYZ reason, where you don't have a guide to face to ask about it. You have to run with a chatbot, and they will constantly decline you, and that's it. Suddenly that face will be gayab. So the authenticity, it is all these factors are creating a question mark on the authenticity of the medium. So obviously the trust level, if it erodes, அது நேச்சுரலாக வந்து அவங்களுடைய நம்பிக்கையை இழக்கும்போது அவங்களுடைய அந்த இது இருக்கும். இப்போது விதின் சோஷியல் மீடியாவே நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெர் இஸ் அ ஷிஃப்ட். தெர் வாஸ் அ ஃபேஸ்புக், தென் இட் பிகேம் டுடே இஸ் த ரீல்ஸ் அண்ட் டிக்டாக் வந்துட்டு பேன் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. பட் இட் இஸ் நவ் த இன்ஸ்டா அண்ட் த ரீல்ஸ். ஸோ யூ நீட் டு பி தேர் வேர் யூ வாண்ட் டு பி. Another important factor is there was these legacy medias were bit late in terms of capitalizing on the trends of catching up with the social media or technology. So yesterday when I was talking to the Hindu CEO, Navneet, my friend, he was quoting that we have to transform and reach where the audience are. So they started coming to that. Wherever you are there, we are coming to that. So that is another reason that the legacy media also started reaching out to them in the platform where they wanted to, in a way they wanted to consume it. That is another reason why the individual news content creators, they're all like waning away. Important thing, very important, there should be an awareness. The clickbait title அப்படின்றது என்ன அர்த்தம்னா, அது பார்க்கும்போது வந்து ஒரு நடிகர் பிரபு வீட்டில் மரணம். People misunderstand that he himself gone. That's what the question came to me actually. So why this kind of I say that it is an unethical practice. This kind of clickbait culture and unethical practice should be strongly rejected by the consumer, audience, readers. If you post something against, then the content creators also will correct themselves. That culture needs to be initiated, because there is the consumerism. The consumerism can teach the platform owners or media owners to correct themselves if they are going away from. And there are many countries for that. They stand as an example. And if you take the country New Zealand for that reason, they always decide to choose a product which is affordable and reasonable. They will not choose just because it was endorsed by an actress, top actress or actor or celebrity. Just because Amitabh Bachchan is endorsing a brand, I will not buy it. I will not run behind it. I will buy only if it is affordable, first cost, second ingredients. Is it healthy? If you start looking at things like this, then you can completely make sure that the ecosystem goes for a complete correction. That's all.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, please.
I'm just adding again to what he said, this clickbait thing that he was talking about, and influencers. See, we have to distinguish between the news given by news channels, and when I say channel, I don't mean television channel, news media houses, okay? News being provided by media houses and news being provided by these influencers, okay? The very term influencer suggests that they are out to manipulate you. They are out to influence you. Of course, media people may also like to influence, but the difference lies here, and that is what I wanted to make, that the touchstone of journalism is cross-checking of the fact. Unless the fact has been cross-checked, not once, at several levels, the reporter, the correspondent himself or herself, cross-checks the facts at several levels. Then it is cross-checked by the copy editors. News editor first vets it, goes to copy editor, goes back to the news editor or the desk in charge, or in different channels, television it will be known as input editor, output editor, in newspaper it will be known as news editor, whoever. But there are so many filters. It's extremely, extremely difficult to push something with an agenda unless the house wants to push that agenda. An individual, next to impossible to do that. So we have to remember the touchstone of journalism is cross-checking of the fact. Influencers, as they pass on them, did they cross-check what is the health of that actor? God forbid, and God give him long life. He should have checked, or she should have checked, but they didn't do it, right? Because he is an influencer or she is an influencer, wants just people to arrive. Whereas a media house would not like just people to come to them. They would like to come to them for quality information, right? So we have to make a distinction between news providers and information peddlers. I'm sorry to use the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So see, just to add to the point, there are two things, like what he was talking about, like in Hindu there is this practice that if somebody sees it, it has to be verified by somebody on the ground. So long back, Amartya Sen was declared dead by so many people in the country among the lot of top media companies. So Hindu was not able to confirm. So they reached out to his family member, because he writes regularly in our publications, and they say, no, he's sitting here and having tea, So recently again with Zakir Hossain. So yes, it sometimes delays the thing, but it is important that you hold this thing. Now coming to what Uma was talking about in terms of the need for a good content. So there is this person called Ravish Kumar. So Ravish Kumar used to work with NDTV, and then finally when NDTV was taken over by another business house, he decided to get out of it and start on his own. So we were analyzing his video in YouTube channel and comparing with NDTV. Average day, NDTV's one video gives them about 35,000 views, and they post around 500. This guy posts one video a day, and his average video gets 1.3 million views, right? So again, this is the power of, because this guy has a brand name, people understand what he is to be trusted, and that's the power. If you are able to build your brand, if you are able to really get that kind of a confidence from the audiences, there are so much possible. So Ravish Kumar, in my opinion, may be making way more money now than perhaps what he was making as an employee, because the things have changed, and he has now a bigger team, and so much can happen. That's what is the power of this economy, which which will be available to the journalists to really go after.
Ramalakshmi, would like to add?
Thank you. To add to what all three experts mentioned now, particularly what Mr. Umanath said, social media mela irka nambikkai poirichu. The credibility factor. I think that credibility is something readers are pinning on because social media does not have a gatekeeper, which media houses have, whether it's legacy media houses or startup media houses. They do have a process for verification. It does not go unchecked, at least at a preliminary level. Though multiple level of verification is important, at least at preliminary level, basic data checkers, and this is something a layman understands. There is an editor, and the editor is responsible. If there is some erroneous mistake, it's a grave mistake, an editor is accountable for it. There is an ombudsman I clearly remember when the Hindu appointed its first ombudsman. I think
Yes,
it was way back,
Manish
way back in 2005, 2006, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So I just entered my masters then. So it was a yes. Yes, the Chief Justice of India. So the accountability that the media houses bring is something that has helped, in terms of that position, that role of a gatekeeper, and the kind of work they do in terms of verification. I think this is what has built the credibility in public among the readers, that even if you see it on social media, see whether the Hindu is talking about it, or Indian Express talking about it, or Times of India, whatever press that they believe in. For this reason, social media does not have that verification process. This is what I wanted to add upon. Yeah, at this time. Bound to grow, bound to change, yeah. We do not know, yeah.
That
Absolutely, yes.
That's pretty interesting, yeah. So Pradeep, again, there is lots of stuff that's happening because of AI, right? We had this DeepSeek moment yesterday, and how do you see, I understand that I spoke to Mr. Suresh Nambat as well a couple of weeks back. He said it'll help us get rid of drudgery and all this. I understand that. But how do you see AI will impact revenue generation? Because now it's all about clicks and, cost per clicks and, all this stuff. But again, that's going to completely change, isn't it? Where do you think the money will come from, when in this new landscape, new AI landscape?
See, I see AI as a tool. So see, how do we make money? If we provide our content to the right people, right, either the people will pay for the content, or they will pay for somebody who wants to reach that audience, right? So the first part which AI will help is with the content and maybe bringing the cost down. So see, like I was talking to the editor of Times of India, and he explained me about one journalist which he has in Lucknow. This journalist was outstandingly good, okay, but he could not write in English. So he will write a copy in Hindi, which will go to Times of India's Delhi office. They will translate it into English, send him back, and then the 2 copies, and then he will select, and that will get printed. After ChatGPT, now he sends them 3 copies to choose from, and they are never. And the editor was saying that now that layer of editor, which was basically responsible for, he's a great reporter but not good with language, right, is gone. So that is one clear-cut opportunity area. Like if you will see, what the computers did was they removed this entire process of, there was this people who used to check spelling in the newspaper, proofreaders, right? So that job went away over about 10, 15, 20 years back. Some errors happened because the machine was not perfect, but invariably the value which the people were adding was so low that over a period of time, it moved away. So see, like, any new technology creates some opportunities, and so takes away some jobs and all that. So I think the biggest jobs which are going to get impacted by AI will be the editor layers, which is basically looking at it, proof checking it, and all that kind of stuff. That numbers is, so I read about in New York Times about in 2016-17, they asked 100 people who were editing to say that, would you like to take a golden handshake? Right? So that will impact your cost. And what are they doing? They are replacing this money. They said, we will use this money to hire reporters. We will take this money to really get the more skills which we do not have. So nobody wants to save this money. So everybody wants to reskill their newsroom because they don't have a lot of skills like a video or an audio, or for that matter, infographics. Like even in Hindu, if you will say, every day we have a data story. That data story is never thought from digital perspective. So that beautiful data which people could have really played around on the digital is never digitally perfect, right? But maybe that is the skill related issue, and the skills are expensive. So when you get, so that is where I feel will happen. Another part is that our ability to reach the right audience. So like today what happens is, I am taking a lot of guesswork on whom today. Should I be giving you, so we are using AI to recommend the content. So if you come to Hindu today, the content which is recommended to you, and especially like if you are a regular user, the machines are trying to learn your behavior. So like if you are a regular behavior of a defense stories, right? So when you come, the top 5 stories reported to you, first and second might be defense. So what will happen is it will help you increase the consumption, and I can monetize that consumption. Second part is when I will start giving you very, very customized thing, maybe you will be ready to buy my subscription, right? So our ability to target will increase dramatically. But see, what we are very, very clear, there are 2 kinds of journalism which we do. One is need to know journalism and one is good to know journalism. Need to know journalism is uncomfortable. It is very painful. When we talk about, some girl getting molested, it is a painful, nobody wants to read it in the morning. But we think it is our duty to report this because this is nation building. Unless we will bring it out, no change will happen in the society. So we are very, very clear, AI will never be used in need to know journalism. It is only good to know journalism where, like in this case, we want to understand what will happen, what price point are we buying this Rafale deals and all that. That's a good to know journalism, right? So when we write about China losing a lot of, India losing a lot of land to China, and we wrote some 30, 40, 50 stories in last 3-4 years, government never denied it, government never acknowledged it, but we kept doing it, right? So because we had the ground, and we always thought it is a need to know journalism which the people of this country need to know. So our AI will never touch our need to know journalism. It will touch our good to know journalism, will make more and more customized to you. And we believe that with this targeting tomorrow, we will be able to do a better with the kind of ads we are serving to you. The kind of content which we serve you may motivate you to really do for this. Maybe I'll be able to tomorrow, if I launch a shopping kit or a sports kit, and you are a sport enthusiast, the AI might help me to say that, okay, why don't you reach out to Vijay and perhaps try to do this. So that's where the AI will help us. It might help us to cut costs. It will help us to remove a lot of low-end work which our people are doing right now, and may optimize our cost structure.
That's it. Umanath, would you like to add something to this?
See, AI, for me, it's my personal experience, I'm saying. I just had a journalist for title for any story is very important, and he happens to be a highly paid resource, but on the creative அப்படின்றது வந்து ஒரு கிரியேட்டிவ் திமிரு அப்படின்னு ஒன்று இருக்கும். ஆக்சுவலாக டைரக்டராக இருந்தாலும் இந்த எடிட்டோரியல் திமிரு அப்படின்றது இந்த தெர் இஸ் அ கைண்ட் ஆஃப் attitude that comes with them actually. It is very difficult to work with them. And it was constantly, despite paying so much, today we are in the world of sensationalism. So you need to file something, so you just go and tell him, sir, just go through this and give me a nice title, class title, so that it will be credible and it will be looking for someone to immediately. He will say, sir, I am busy, I will do it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. But this is the kind of worrying factor that today you just take the help of the chat GPT. You just give the whole story and tell them that you suggest, it will suggest you 20 titles. People here, you want to work on your projects, you just attach your PDF and ask chat GPT to give a summary in 500 words, it will give you. Then you ask, put all your questions and ask, give me answer for this, it will give you. It is such simple. If you all know, when any one of you don't know how to use chat GPT, please try and use it. It will be very fun, and indirectly you will start learning it. Because for me also, it was a real experience. I got rid of him.
Using it already. I'm sure they must be using it already.
Yes, they might be using it, but today, see, it can give you instantly. It can give you an image. Say like if you're talking about budget, I need to hire a graphic designer to about budget 2025 karke. For that I have to hire somebody. Now I prepare an article, one button, the DALL-E is there. Give me an apt image suiting this story. It will give you immediately. That's how simple it is. But having said that, it will not replace the human resource. It can simplify the project. I look at AI as one area where 125-page report, if it takes 5 days for me, it summarizes me and gives me in a same day where I can use the content, and I can choose India specific content or any topic specific content. Yes, it gives me, but that doesn't mean that it will create the whole report was created by a human, and that AI will not replace. So churning data, there will be tons and tons of data. Maybe in journalism, when you are particularly focusing on reporting on data-oriented journalism, to compare data of a previous year or a current year or a previous scenario or a current scenario, there AI comes in handy. So something that you ask your assistant to do it, he will come and give you after hours or days. That can happen in minutes. That's the goodness of the AI. and we can use it to that extent. But if you start depending completely, then the human brain will die, and there will be there was a film, Hollywood film Wall-E. The entire humanity was controlled by an AI computer for after 2000 years, and it should not happen like that. I hope the Elon Musk of our generations will not take the humanity to that extent.
Allow the teachers also to add to what he said. What you said, sir, to the young students, no, it's our nightmare as teachers. But it is a fact. I mean, you are absolutely right, it is that easy. But the question is, as teachers, what we teach is, we know that it's there and it is there to stay. In fact, it's going to become better. It is becoming better as we are talking because it is listening to me. Yeah, it's listening to me. So it's becoming better. Point is, what we as teachers teach is what question to ask, where to ask, how to ask. Because the input will determine the output, or the other way around, the output is going to be determined by the input. What is that input? First. Second, when it gives you that project, or when it gives the headline which your computer is giving you, are you sure that's the headline you wanted to give you?
See, there I use my brain. I ask I will not take what it gives. Give some 3-4 commands. What headline focused on, I give command, it gives you 10. It gives you some 30 headlines, out of which I decide which one to choose.
That is the skill we have to learn. They wanted to add something.
So see, when ChatGPT came, so I was speaking to our journalists. So they asked me that, what do you think will be the impact of journalists? I said, this will help in raising our quality. Because the first draft which you get from ChatGPT is something which nobody will pay for. Because this is now the hygiene, right? And nobody pays for hygiene. So that is what is given. So like, if you are doing a hygiene level journalism, right, you have no future. If as a student you are doing a hygiene level task, it has no, because whatever, remember that what you are using it, your colleague is also using it, and if you are generating the report, all the reports will be with a minor difference of 5-10% will be similar, right? And that 5-10% will not cut ice with your teachers, and very soon they will understand that the entire class is using a ChatGPT and nobody gets anything. So the only thing which you can use is that use ChatGPT to understand this is the first version of a report and this is of no use because everybody has it. This is hygiene. And if this is hygiene and if you want to stand out, that's what I told my journalist friend, that if you want to stand out, I cannot raise money on this third-rated copy. It may not be third-rated in this, but when everybody has it, it becomes third-rated because you know who is going to pay for it, right? So ChatGPT is going to help journalism because the hygiene work will get higher quality, and if the hygiene work is higher quality, you as a journalist will have to do something much better for somebody to pay for your work, and that's where I feel it is going to add a lot more value.
Thank you. I handle a couple of writing courses, so I will share some real-time experience. Okay, when I went to the classroom, writing for media, so I trained students in writing for different platforms, different genres. So this time I was wary about one thing. First question I asked the students, எத்தனை பேர் ChatGPT யூஸ் பண்றீங்கன்னு கிளாஸ்ல கேட்டேன். First class. All the hands went up. I was so happy with the honesty. First. Second, I convinced myself I have to embrace this phenomenon no matter what. However tough I may be a teacher, they're going to use ChatGPT. Third, I convinced myself I should learn ChatGPT to find out how they are using it. It's a skill teachers need today. Student தான் ChatGPT ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டுக்கு தான் இல்லை, அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்றதை கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்கு நமக்கு தெரியணும். Right? So we should know how this works. So I told the students, no matter what, I know you're going to rely on ChatGPT, at least for your basic draft. Okay. What AI is going to do or is doing is, like my co-panelist said, it's making the job easier, improving quality, things like that, but it can never foster human connection. It can never bring about empathy. It can never bring about that narrative strength. That is something you have to feel, which only humans can do. You cannot make machines feel. Machines can mimic, பட் நாட் ஃபீல். உணர வைக்கணும். ஒரு கதை சொல்கிறீங்கன்னா உணர வைக்கணும். இப்போ பிரதீப் சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி வாட் இஸ் சம்திங் தட் யூ ஹாவ் டு நோ, ஓகே, த நீட் டு நோ அண்ட் குட் டு நோ. அந்த குட் டு நோ வரதுக்கு யூ கேன் மேக் தெம் ஃபீல் என்டர்டெயின்ட் அண்ட் ஆல் தட், யூனோ, கிவ் தெம் தட் ரிலீஃப் ஃபேக்டர். நீட் டு நோ வரும்போது யூ ஹாவ் டு கம்பெல் தெம் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த ஸ்டோரி. அது ஒரு மனுஷன் சொன்னால் மட்டும்தான் அது நடக்குவாங்க. Only when a human says it, that impact is felt. So that's why, like, I agree with him that AI cannot touch upon it. And one more thing, we cannot deny the fact that we are all conditioned in a certain environment. Okay, India is patriarchal. Okay, however we may say that we are neutral, I mean gender neutral particularly, all right, the way we write we tend to have a certain bias. Okay, sometimes when I write emails or letters, I say dear sir, madam. I never say dear madam sir. It is never the other way around, because we are taught a certain pattern and we follow it. We say that is grammar, that is syntax, that is order, we go by it. Why can it not be dear madam or sir? We never question it because it's a certain format, which means sometimes when we write there is going to be bias. Unintentionally, theory of unintentional news distortion can also happen. AI can actually help you to figure out the degree of bias in your writing. I heard some legacy media houses are doing it. They're actually figuring out. If I'm not wrong, I heard Hindu is practicing that. You have an AI app to... I'm not sure. I'm not able to quote exact because I'm not sure. But I want to verify that maybe now before I present it as data. I only heard about it. So, நம்ம ஒரு நியூஸ் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணும்போதே அதில் எவ்வளோ பயஸ் இருக்குது, என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் சென்சேஷனலிசம்ங்கிற பேரில் எவ்வளோக்கு டேட்டாவை நம்ம ட்ரிவியலைஸ் பண்ணி கொடுக்குறோம். இதெல்லாம் பயஸ் சம்மந்தப்பட்ட ஒரு விஷயம். All this is to do with objectivity vis-a-vis bias. Okay, and AI will help us clean that. That kind of a hygiene is required. Of course, not multiple copies, but that kind of a hygiene is required. Right? So, to just like how we embraced each technological revolution, okay, how we embraced an SMS, how did we embrace an email, how did we embrace, you know, from typewriter to computers. There were one generation of typists who were cribbing that they lose their jobs. They eventually did. Okay, even now Mylapore in Chennai, Kachere Road, if you go, there is a school that's teaching typing shorthand. You still see the name. I don't understand the relevance of skill now. I don't understand, but each time I go that side, I cherish that. I look at that name word, I cherish it. Okay, purpose எனக்கு தெரியல. இன்னும் ஷார்ட் ஹேண்ட் இப்போ யாரையா ஷார்ட் ஹேண்ட் கற்றுக்கிறா தோணும். No, how many people are learning shorthand? What is the relevance of? I don't know. I'm maybe அது ஒரு மியூசியம் மாதிரி இருக்கும், தெரியல. No, but technology is bound to disrupt. There are several disruptors. Technology is not the only disruptor. COVID was a disruptor. War is a disruptor. Any conflict is a disruptor. It's bound to change industry. So definitely AI is also a disruptor, but it's important to embrace that change. And how are we going to use that to our advantage? And as teachers, I think we have to embrace it in a positive way to tell them how to use it ethically. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very interesting insights from all of you.